Hi, ladies. Hi, Masha. Hi, Xenia.
Hello.
Hi, Manana.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Yes, introduce please yourself.
My name is Masha. Xenia is my twin sister, and we're co-founders of It Takes Two PR Studio, PR and Communications. We do communications mostly for crypto, for DeFi, for NFT projects, but not only. We also have some clients in like what is this more traditional, if we can call startups traditional tech. So I'm the older one, and I would say more like probably, yeah, if I'm more strategy oriented, then Xenia is more like tactics oriented. Though she might have a different opinion, so we can, yeah, let's ask her about that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what to add here because I think it's a pretty comprehensive overview of what we're doing. I can just add that probably our journey to PR specifically for crypto, for NFT projects, it started with content. And so our approach to PR is content-based, we can say. And basically, we're based in different countries now. I'm in Canada, Masha's in Russia, but she'll be here soon. And like lockdowns won't prevent us from that. Yeah, I think for the introduction, that's pretty much it.
Okay, and my first question actually should be advice for the startups, how they can survive during the COVID.
That's a really good one. I think I read a very interesting article called CEO's Guide to Survival. And basically, I think it all comes down to, first of all, taking care of yourself personally and maybe like your mental health. Because like on the business side, it really depends on where are you based. Because I know that here in Canada, startups receive massive support from the government in terms of payrolls, in terms of some of their even like marketing expenses. I know that, for example, if you're based in Russia, you're not receiving the same things. So, but whatever like path you choose to help yourself survive this time, it all starts with supporting yourself personally first and making sure that you don't have this burnout that I think like probably a lot of us already do by the end of the year is pretty normal. But yeah, I think that's where it starts from.
Yeah, I can also add that I have a friend I can throw as an example. His name is Igor, and he runs the company. Here it's called Tickets Cloud. It's pretty popular and famous ticketing platform in Russia. And well, for them, like their business is pretty much event based. So all the events that were shut down, all the conferences, concerts, and festivals, it was like a huge like stroke basically for them. But he managed to so intelligently get out of the situation. I really recommend going to his page, and he wrote an article on VC about how they did that. Like even with it, probably the worst industry that was most affected in this, he managed to like maintain his team, maintain relationships, and kind of negotiate good conditions with like everything starting from rent and so on. So yeah, this is kind of to support Xenia's thesis that this is very important of how do you approach this personally as a team leader.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. And my next question, there's the best short-term opportunities for the investors. What do you think about next big trend? Maybe it should be in VR and XR. Maybe artificial intelligence, maybe something for the energy or for the education, gaming, maybe for the robotics. What do you think?
I think there is certainly like everything that you mentioned is pretty hot at the moment. I wouldn't probably say what would be a good short-term like investment opportunity, but what we notice a lot that there is a lot of growth in ed tech. That's for sure, and absolutely the whole COVID situation kind of give it a push. Also, gaming is something that we're also looking at pretty closely. One of our clients also doing a game, which is super exciting, and we can share about it a bit more further. But yeah, and also like the industry that we feel most comfortable at is digital assets. So that's where our core focus lies in terms of like our personal investment, if we talk about that.
And Xenia?
I think I would add RegTech space. Basically, everything that's related to helping companies, whether it's financial services or other firms, maintain, like stay compliant. And especially like we're seeing this trend that people, they can't really go into a bank branch now. Now they do, like when there's not a heavy lockdown, but banks and all other players, they're forced to serve their clients digitally. And everything that's connected to establishing, because Zoom is quite simple, but there are other like more tools that specifically serve this niche that it started to appear earlier, but now it accelerated with COVID. So I would say that like RegTech is definitely a niche that we're looking into right now.
And based on the understanding blockchain and venture capital, like in general, like ecosystem, how has it changed in last 5 years, and how it's looked like during the COVID pandemic? What is the next big thing? Yeah, in blockchain. What do you think?
So I think there are probably, like in terms of investments in generally blockchain and digital assets, digital currencies, I think the two tracks to kind of highlight are Bitcoin and then the Ethereum-based infrastructure for DeFi and so on. First, let me, to briefly touch Bitcoin. I think right now what we're witnessing is a huge growth of demand from institutional investors. I think there was statistics released recently that over 30% European investors already have digital assets such as Bitcoin in their portfolios. And this demand is growing because Bitcoin has shown correlation with gold as an asset. So basically, it's establishing itself as a store of value, as alternative store of value. And this has, I think, been like really driven to a big extent by the fact that like Bitcoin is not like its price is not correlated. So it's basically how a friend, Dr. Mark Fleury says, it's like ab initio. So it's not backed basically by direct traditional assets as we know it, but it makes it unique in the sense that it is not tied to the traditional economy. So when we've seen everything happening in traditional economy for the past year, and we've seen Bitcoin really thrive and reaching its all-time high almost. And then in terms of investment in like Ethereum-based ecosystems such as like DeFi projects, we're really big fans of NFT. We've been diving really deep into the topic with us, like taking care of communications. In Rarible, favorite team. I think the guys just recently seen the rise in volume up to, if I'm not mistaken, $25 million total, and it's kind of also moves from the concept of just DeFi and collectibles and things like that to kind of being this infrastructure layer for so to say liquid IP rights. So being like an underlying technology for music, for art, for video, for different like NFT wrapped constructs, which is extremely exciting for us.
And Xenia, it's the same question.
I think like to approach the same question from slightly different perspective when we talk about venture capital and blockchain, we saw a lot of crypto funds. There are still, some of them are still thriving by like today. And these funds were investing first and foremost in project tokens. This is probably not that something that we're seeing right now, but then even like whether it's a venture fund or it's an angel investor, people are more interested in equity investments in projects, even if it's something so non-traditional as DeFi. But the potential that these projects offer, it makes a lot more sense for investors to enter, not just, okay, these are the tokens that can go up in price, but this is rather something long-term that they can see like this technology transform the market and see their future applications for it. Yeah, I think this is something I would like to add here.
And next question, what about the startups? For example, what is the next big thing for the new business models? And maybe it should be like the single most important technologies, uh, maybe for the impact investment. What do you think?
I think probably I can say about like two models which pretty like correlate. I think one of them is the one that we're seeing pretty often in the crypto and blockchain space are decentralized autonomous organizations, which previously were like a couple of years back they were kind of this like utopian concept. But right now we've seen projects like Maker, for example, kind of I think maybe just a couple of months back they made this transition to like fully giving the voting powers and basically all the governance powers to their communities. So basically, I think if tokens make sense, and they do, they make sense as this also kind of layer for governing and for communities to make decision. And really only strong projects that bring in value to the world, to the people that are involved in it can thrive this way. So it's extremely interesting to see. I would say that this is an experiment, but Rarible, for instance, is also going this path. I think another way to do it, I think more and more companies and generally people around the world are becoming more conscious of, like privacy and organization. So also one of the projects that we're working with, they have formed a cooperative basically. So also it's kind of, it's not a DAO, so it's more like a traditionally structured company, I would say, but kind of also delegating power and excluding, this probably a strong hierarchy with only, one or several principal decision makers. And yeah, I think this is probably the future, and it's really great to see that we're moving towards these concepts. That the only fact that they emerge is, I think, pretty big.
And I think in terms of cooperatives, it's something like you see this model more like in local grocery store, rather like in venture-backed startup. So, and this model was not in favor, like investors didn't like it traditionally. But since that's such a big trend and it's coming both from traditional world and in crypto, this is something that investors are starting to pay attention to. And this is possibly the next like organizational form of the future, no matter what niche you're in.
What is the best skills needed to be a unicorn founder? Maybe in crypto, maybe in blockchain, maybe in emerging technologies after the pandemic, maybe during the pandemic. What do you think?
I think it's probably not really related to pandemic, but I would say like what we witnessed with like really successful startups and successful founders. These are the people who all the time talk to their audience or their communities, and all the time like they keep improving the product constantly, because this is really not related to the industry which the product is in, but that's, I think, the like all the startups, probably 90% of startups that fail, they make this mistake that they do not talk to their users all the time, ongoingly, and just making improvements to all these things. So yeah, I would say that this is the core thing. But on top, of course, like as they call them now, soft skills are extremely important. Like all the communication, ability to adapt, probably these are the ones.
Yeah, Xenia.
Yeah, I think this is probably soft skills. It's one of the most important things to keep in mind here. And whether it's COVID or not, there have been like very challenging times in history. And sometimes like the more challenging time is, the more opportunities it provides for people who can grab it. And we're definitely seeing like the shift and the demand that's rising with this new reality in the world. I think that we will see people who we're able to cater to this new demand that has appeared. And we're already seeing that some projects there just like propel up. But yeah, it will be very interesting even next year. Like by the end of next year, we probably will be hearing about companies that we don't even know now, and they will be one of the biggest things. But I think this is only like the time can show what exactly that will be.
Okay, it's interesting. And what do you think? What is the competitive advantage for the DeFi, for the decentralized finance? Tell me something interesting, about crypto.
I think a competitive advantage, or if we talk about like advantages between different projects, the main one is being legit, because I even heard it from, actually it was a group of traders here in Vancouver. There is a specific model of how you choose the token to invest in. They just went and looked for the project that just listed on Uniswap. If they had a website or a specific number of people in their groups, in their Discord or Telegram, whatever, this was like several signs that this token is worth investing in, and people just started pumping it up. Everybody like made gains, and then it's just dumped. Basically, it's like similar ICO model. So I think to like, if you are a DeFi project that's really legit, you're not just here, you're not using this model to make some money and exit and just have no consequences. Basically, again, like it happened with the ICO boom, I think this is a very important topic, because even when we take a look at decentralized oracles, if we take different auction models that are being used in DeFi, even the DEXs that are clearly becoming like one of the like most preferred ways for traders nowadays, there are this really legit industries. And if you are in this space to make something because you're believe in this technology and you're not just here to make some quick money, and this is your competitive advantage, and you have like really high chances of succeeding. So you're not just here to list your token on Uniswap.
I think I would probably add here that if we're looking like at bigger scale, what are the advantages of DeFi like versus some kind of traditional finance? Of course, it cannot replace like some traditional instruments at the moment, but a lot of people, I think a lot of millennials are already using crypto as basically their bank, kind of for banking purposes, and people receive payments in it. People take loans. So I think it's really convenient for crypto native people, for digital native people. And yeah, and being decentralized is like gives an amazing advantage of privacy and not being, it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be governed. I'm not saying that, but it certainly gives this degree of privacy, which is very important.
What do you think? What is the future for the startup ecosystem? How it's look like there after the COVID too? What's going on with Silicon Valley?
It's interesting to see. Yeah, I think it's very interesting to see that a lot of even like bigger players are living California, like they're living Silicon Valley, like they're whether it's Texas or something else. So I think we will see some geographical shifts, but I think Silicon Valley will always stay this like place of power. But I think this new forms, like it's so important to survive, you need to be together. So I think we'll be seeing some interesting ecosystems forming, because your support network and in general, the network of projects who are working towards building something for this new world, I think we will definitely be seeing these new formations, whether they're geographical, whether it's based on the network like with the same investors. But actually, that's a very interesting question. I would think about this a little more, but this is the first thing that comes to mind here.
I think it's also another point here is that a lot of companies, like all the companies actually, everybody is getting adapted to the new reality, like at least if even for those startups who are doing super well with like the digital transformation, that with everything going digital. A huge struggle for many has been going remote, and I'm sure you've heard a lot about that. People speak about it all the time. But I think the important point here is, going remote is not just like placing somebody at home and expecting a person to do all the same, like with the same structure of meetings, of daily schedules. It's really like kind of adapting your brain and just rewiring the whole structure. And I think for some companies it's easier, and some really struggle, even if they're doing well on the market.
Okay, and what is your superpower?
I think our superpower is probably being twins, and not that it's just a superpower on its own, but I think some of the things that come with it together, because we are a great team, and it's not that we can telepathically talk to each other, but sometimes it's the connection on this level. So it's like you come with a built-in, like perfect business partner and a friend. So I think being a twin is definitely, like in this sense, our superpower.
Yeah, I'd probably also add like maybe writing and communicating also to the list, but I think it's probably shared superpower.
And what is your secret sauce for the blockchain?
Like for the space?
Mm-hmm.
I think just probably being curious, I would say, and really intrigued by the space. And we got in pretty early in 2017. Well, it's not early for most of the people, for, like, blockchain veterans, but I mean, it's been like almost 4 years now, and we've been just even probably when a lot of people lost interest after Bitcoin dumped everything, like kind of lost sense to some extent for many people. I think real projects have been building hands down, working on creating things, and we've also been following a lot of those projects and paying close attention to what they have been doing. So yeah, probably that's also key, I would say.
What do you think should be next big thing for the decentralized finance and for the finance technologies and for the digital assets during like the next 15 years? What do you think?
More like shorter term, I think the collaboration between NFT and DeFi, this will be one of the biggest things, and we already see this emerging right now. And when we talk about digital assets in general, it's slightly different topic, because in terms of 15 years, anything can happen basically. But if we if you are bullish, like on Bitcoin, for example, like us, Bitcoin and Ethereum, when it gets to promised 100,000 or 200,000, it will be approached by bigger players a lot differently. So it's already taken seriously, but then it might become a large, like a very important element of how basically the world works in general, how financial systems work. And we actually see like there is a question that's slightly related to that. Might this take the whole thing to government to take control of it? And yes, I think the discussion around central bank digital currencies, I think it was a lot louder in the beginning of this year. It kind of died down, but we will definitely be returning to that, because the advantages of digital assets, like what they offer, they are too large to ignore. And whether it's for corporate treasury or whether it's for maintaining how the economic system of the entire country works. So we will see. It's hard to say for 15 years in advance, but definitely it will become something that people study at school, that's for sure. And it will be incorporated on multiple levels in multiple countries worldwide.
I think I could also add here that probably it also depends on what kind of route the society and in whole takes, because we could go with being more privacy minded with all the movements of anti big tech, and really valuing privacy, and kind of the whole just the idea of decentralized finance, of blockchain, of crypto really fits into that. that is one track which it could also, be valued and kind of acknowledged as like a separate, legitimate thing by the whole world. Or like I think we will in any case see adoption, but like the other way is probably really governments and corporations would probably want to kind of take a grip on that. So we will see how it goes.
What is your advice for the millennial investors about like the benefits, when to buy and then to sell? What's going on with trading right now?
I think the main advice also always goes is like, don't buy when it's high. Because when just the assets skyrocketed, and like we've seen a lot of people doing this mistake, like as they call in crypto hamsters, like you've seen like the project has made 10x, they're like, buy right now. So, and I think this is pretty much similar to everything that happens. So I would say, just don't FOMO and do research, because in-depth research in the project really can reveal some things. Because I think it's still pretty much like gambling in a sense. So like if you don't know some like insights or some, insider trading is actually something that is punished. So if you don't have that, then it's probably makes sense to kind of educate yourself in the first place about the financial markets and about the technology markets that you want to invest in.
And what's going on with regulatory issues and personal data protection? What do you think? What it should be in next things after the next 2-3 months, because of like in US they have a new president.
There is in terms of regulation for crypto industry, there is one interesting thing that I've been hearing about. It's about if you're a virtual asset service provider, that's the term that's commonly used, you will have to maintain like a registry of all the transactions that are coming in and going through. And this is something that's very expensive. And would be like, there are initiatives like OpenVASP that will provide open source solutions for companies to be able to do that. So, and it's definitely, I think it's related to FATF AML guidance. And this is not the topic I deeply am aware of, but definitely the project will have to, if you're in crypto, you will have to comply. You will have to act more like a financial service provider, because there is no way around it. DeFi is like has some workarounds, but in like 2 or 3 years from now, we will be seeing the same massive lawsuits from someone like Uniswap, for example, being sued for violating everything that's possible to violate. Hopefully it won't happen, but it's quite likely. So there are different tendencies and different solutions for crypto projects, how they will be able to follow these regulations that are becoming stricter, and it's originated from the US in the first place.
Yeah, and I will add probably just one thing, that in terms of like regulation that concerns data privacy rights, like it's kind of to a certain extent already there, but there is again no infrastructure, no sufficient tools to cater for this need. And like even with all the like anti-monopoly laws that are either considered or coming into place, like there's still like no efficient way that you could like gather all your data and have control over it, like even access it, if not like control and monetize it yourself. So Memory is an amazing project that's working towards solving this problem. And I think for the past months we've seen a lot of companies kind of choosing this track. So I think it will take a lot of time probably, but I think like the initiatives like on the legislator level are already there, and tech solution are kind of like coming to meet them. So they're pretty bullish, so to say, on that.
Okay, and last question: what is the plans for the next year?
Well, my first plan is to get to Canada. To Xenia. Yeah, because we haven't seen each other for a year almost, and that's a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably the longest we
This
haven't.
has never happened before.
Wow. And
Yeah.
your plans for the podcast too,
Yeah.
for your media.
I think we will definitely be going back and doing more episodes with founders. I think specifically focusing on blockchain and NFT projects. But I think we'll just be sharing more updates around that because we're still in the process of defining by the value tokenized it still exists. But it's will be coming back in the new shape and form.
Yeah, I think for us, the biggest challenge and goal for the next year is to scale efficiently because we're at this point where, like, in terms of our own business, we we can't even probably sometimes we have to like reject clients because of the capacity which we don't have. So we're really working hard on expanding that, and yeah, that's one
Really
of the,
great.
yeah.
Thank you for this interview, and see you.
Thank you so
the
much
next
for
year.
having us.
Thank
Yeah.
you for having us.
Yes, and see you in US actually. Coming to New York.
Hopefully soon.
Yes, bye bye.
Bye-bye.